You know those families that are so rich that their last name is basically a brand? The kind where their houses look more like hotels than homes? So there's this family called the Ashfords. Old money. The kind of money that's been around for generations. Their grandfather built the empire back in the 70s with oil investments and shipping companies, and by the time his kids grew up, the family was already worth billions. They lived in this massive estate outside the city. Not just a mansion, I'm talking about gates that open slowly like in movies, long driveways with trees on both sides, fountains, marble everywhere. The kind of place where even the staff have staff. From the outside, their life looked perfect. The father, Richard Ashford, was the head of the family business. Tall, always in expensive suits, the type of man who spoke calmly, but everyone in the room listened immediately. His wife, Elena, was the complete opposite. Quiet, elegant, always hosting charity galas and appearing in magazines about the most influential women in business. They had 2 kids. The oldest was Daniel, the one everyone expected to take over the company someday. He went to elite schools, always dressed sharp, always polite in public interviews. Investors loved him. Then there was the younger daughter, Sophia, and Sophia was different. She didn't care about the business world. She didn't like the fancy events, the charity dinners, or the constant cameras. She preferred disappearing for hours with a book or driving around the city alone at night just to feel normal. Now here's where things start getting strange. For years, the Ashford family had this unspoken rule, something everyone in the household knew but nobody really talked about. You never entered Richard Ashford's private office, not the one in the company headquarters, the one inside the mansion. At the very end of the west wing, there was a door that stayed locked all the time. Not even the house staff cleaned inside it. Richard was the only one with a key. If anyone asked about it, he'd just smile and say it was where he kept important documents. But Sophia never believed that. She always had this feeling that something about that room was wrong. Anyway, everything stayed normal for years. The company kept growing. The family appeared on magazine covers. They hosted ridiculous parties where celebrities and politicians showed up just to shake Richard's hand. But then one night something happened that nobody expected. It was around 2 in the morning when Sophia woke up. She wasn't sure why at first. The house was usually silent at that hour. But she heard footsteps in the hallway. Now normally that wouldn't be weird, except the footsteps were slow and heavy, like someone pacing back and forth. Sophia opened her bedroom door slightly and looked down the corridor. The lights were dim, but she could see a figure standing near the end of the hallway. Her father, Richard Ashford, except something about him looked off. He was standing in front of the locked office door, just staring at it, not moving, not speaking, just staring. Sophia whispered, "Dad?" He didn't respond. She stepped out into the hallway and called again, "Dad?" That's when he slowly turned his head toward her. And the look on his face wasn't the calm, controlled expression everyone knew. He looked terrified. Not angry, not confused. Terrified. Then he quickly composed himself, walked over to her and said in a quiet voice that she had never heard from him before, "Go back to bed, Sophia." She tried to ask what was wrong, but he cut her off immediately. Now. So she went back to her room. But she didn't sleep, because a few minutes later she heard something else. The sound of the office door unlocking, and then closing again. The next morning, everything seemed normal. Breakfast was served in the sunlit dining room like always. Daniel was talking about some meeting with investors. Their mother was scrolling through emails about some charity event in Paris. And Richard acted like nothing had happened. Calm, relaxed, even joking a little. But Sophia couldn't stop thinking about the look on his face the night before. So later that evening, she decided to do something she had never done before. She waited until everyone went to sleep. Then she walked quietly down the hallway toward the west wing, toward the locked office. The hallway lights were off this time, so the place looked even creepier than usual. The kind of silence where you can hear your own breathing echo slightly. She stood in front of the door for a moment, and that's when she noticed something strange. The door wasn't locked, just slightly open, which had never happened before. Her heart started racing immediately, but curiosity got the better of her. She pushed the door open slowly. Inside the office, everything looked normal at first. Huge wooden desk, shelves full of old books, expensive paintings on the walls, a large window overlooking the gardens. But then she noticed something that made her stomach drop. Behind the desk was a second door, one she had never seen before, and it was wide open. From the darkness behind it, she could hear a faint sound, almost like someone whispering. Sophia stepped closer, and the moment she reached the doorway, she saw something inside that made her freeze completely, because the room beyond wasn't an office. It was filled with hundreds of photographs, pictures of people, different people, strangers, pinned all over the walls, and every single photo had one thing written underneath it, a date. Some dates were years old, some were recent, and the most recent photo had been added just yesterday. When Sophia looked closer at the picture, her chest tightened, because the face in the photograph was someone she recognized, someone from the news, a man who had died the previous night.